Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tyrant Saber, and welcome back to the Jason Parham Road to the Show on MLB The Show 19. The game dropped a couple days ago. I've been playing it offline, a little bit online. I haven't been recording anything because I've been sick and I haven't had a voice to speak with, but hopefully I'm a little bit better. Hopefully we'll get back on the horse here. So, we are going to move on with Jason's story and his career in the Show 19, taking advantage of the game's new mechanics and systems to help build a legend for all time. So let's get to it. Now, folks who are used to Jason's antics will know pretty much what we're getting into, but I hope to introduce you, if you are new to the series, to what's different about this series and what makes it special. But before I can get too far into it, we got to take care of some bookkeeping here first. So, in the Show 19, they condensed all the archetypes down for pitchers from 5 to 3. They are no longer closer archetypes. They're now only the 3 starter archetypes from last year. And while Jason had been working on the Rockstar archetype, which had him more of a speed thrower, a high-speed pitcher, he originated as, and I really had him envisioned as, more of a control freak type pitcher. So that is what we're going to go back to. And no worries about it, because we'll be able to get all the caps up to 99 no matter what stat, so we won't be worrying about losing any of Jason's velocity. We'll just be helping bring him back up. So in reality, we're losing nothing by going back to Control Freak. We're just getting the chance to increase the stats that he should have been increasing this whole time. In the meantime, we also have a new personality system, which allows us to, give Jason an actual personality. Because of the way the game implements the system for new or existing players, rather, we aren't going to be able to assign him his personality in the same way we would be able to do for a new player. So I have to actually take an option which I wasn't looking for, but it is going to work for us. We are going to be Maverick primary, Lightning Rod secondary, and Heart and Soul tertiary. So that is how we are going to be there. And we'll worry about that in a little bit. But in the meantime, we have to get back to the business of, actually signing with a team. Because as you may recall, if you have watched the watched the series for a while, Jason and his Boston Red Sox beat the Chicago Cubs in the 2023 World Series in 6 games and collected themselves Jason's first ring and the first World Series win for Boston in 3 years. And then in the 2 weeks following that World Series win, or the 3 weeks following it rather, Jason and Boston got into a little bit of a contract dispute in that Jason was not getting the money that he thought he was entitled to. And as a result, Boston non-tendered him, which is baseball speak for they didn't offer him a contract and they didn't offer him salary arbitration, which meant that he is now a free agent, free to sign with any team. So we have to actually, sign with the team if we want to continue his career, because he is, you can't play baseball by yourself. So we gotta get out here and sign with the team. So let's see who's looking. All right, who do we got? Now, Boston still offering Jason that 1-year contract for $4.6 million, which is not nothing money, but at the same time, Jason was not just offended by kind of the price tag on that contract, he was offended by the fact that they're only offering him a 1-year extension, and he's offended by the fact that despite performing, 8 wins above replacement this last year, they don't view him as the ace on the year. They are not offering him the ace position in his contract. And those things all together, I think, just have convinced Jason that he's not going to sign with the Red Sox. So I have a team in mind for what I would like Jason to sign with, and I may well wind up doing that, but we'll see if they actually come to us in the offseason. For now, White Sox aren't a team I'm terribly interested in signing with. They're kind of a middling team, and the AL Central is really weak right now. The Pirates are a team that Jason was drafted by, but he did not actually get to play with them. He got traded halfway through his age 18 season in the minors to San Diego. So maybe we'll go back to Pittsburgh someday, but today's not that day. We're going to try to get with a team that can win here. So we'll advance a little bit. See who's come looking. The Twins really struggling right now. Again, the AL Central, really kind of a rough division. Not going to go with them, I don't think. See who else coming. The Rays. The Rays aren't a bad team. It's just they play in the American League East, which has been a three-way show between the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays for about the last 3 or 4 years. The Orioles made a push a couple years ago, but they're not really there. It's just kind of a tough show to try to break into right now between the Sox, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays. So I don't think I'm going to go with the Rays there. And is that it? No, that's not it. The Indians. I'm not playing with the Indians, guys. Calm down. Who else? The Rays again. Not interested. And nobody came looking to Jason's door, so he's feeling a little bit like Dallas Keuchel now. But he's not gonna hold out for nothing. So he is gonna go ahead and walk on to one of these teams and try out for a position. Can't imagine that he's gonna go without a contract this year, considering he is the second place Cy Young winner, or second place Cy Young finalist this last year. He had 2 Cy Young awards in the 2 years prior to that. He's a 2-time All-Star. He's performing at the top of his game. In addition to that, he's got 2 years of team control left. So he really is highly motivated and a good fit for really any team, in addition to being one of the best pitchers in baseball, But I think I am going to go ahead and take Jason's talents to Phoenix here. So I actually went back and simmed through that again, because you get varied contract offers depending on what the AI does, which is always different per simulation. So I'm going to go back, and I actually got offered 2 years, $990,000 with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and that's who we're going to go with. So see what we wind up with. So as you can see, we had a pretty good looking team going into this preseason last time, and now we're looking even better. We got the best power in the nation, 4th best power in MLB, 18th best pitching, 16th best defense, 24th best speed. So those are all weaknesses that clearly the team would like to address. But for the moment, at least, Jason's team is looking really powerful here, at least, at the plate. So let's meet the Diamondbacks, shall we? So, second base, Jaime Gutierrez. First base, Mac Williams. Right field, Bryce Harper. Left field, Rhys Hoskins. Designated hitter, Michael Conforto. Center field, Jock Peterson. Third base, Mark Madsen. Shortstop, Sammy Castilla, and catcher, Mike Zunino. And we got a bunch of folks here from the minors, and we'll find out which of them make the cut. In the rotation, we got Jason Parham, Matt Trevino, Taijuan Walker, Ryan Bowie, Carlton Leffler. And in terms of the bullpen, we got Rule 5 draftee Ernest Zarate, Kevin Cabrera from a couple of years ago, who was quite the promising starting pitcher, but who seems to have fallen off a little bit, or just hasn't made the kind of progress they would have liked in the major leagues. Seth Lugo, setup guy for the D-backs, and the closing pitcher, Archie Bradley. So looking like an interesting and pretty good lineup, honestly. But we got to get back out there, and so Jason is now going to begin his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks, having to establish himself in a new team, in a new city once again, and have the chance to show the world what Boston's missing out on with him in Arizona. Let's get it. But before we get it, let's actually screw around with his stuff now, because it's a new year, new gear, new appearances, and, Jason hasn't changed up his look in a while, so let's get on that. All right. That's all taken care of, and as you can see, Jason is sporting now a nice new mullet. And yeah, so this is the new perks screen, and as you can see, we got more of an RPG progression style tree as opposed to a kind of table-based thing. So we are limited in what we can do, but we also have some really new and interesting options here. So what do we got here? Yeah, so we can take one pitch per tier per tree, and we're limited to 2 for each of the first 2 tiers. First tier only allows you to have boosted effects on your on your perks. Up to the 3rd level, you get the ability to get hybrid perks from various other trees, only some of which I have unlocked yet. And I have slide steps, and that doesn't really help me. There's that, and then this is going to be the important one for me because I use a lot of Showtime pitches, and I don't have a lot of, they don't have it available in any other way if I don't take this perk. So this is going to be the one that I need. And that'll do it for now, I think. So Jason is now all set. So let's get into the first appearance of spring training. It'll be a starting appearance against the Colorado Rockies. We just got to get to it. So we're going to be playing through spring training. I'm going to be yabbering on, and, what'll happen will happen. So let's get out here and see what Jason can do with the D-backs. Let's get it.
MLB The Show's coverage of Major League Baseball is on the air. Today, a spring training matchup between the Colorado Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to our spring training coverage on MLB Network.
Now, if you're a longtime fan of the series, you very well may know everything I'm about to say, so I wouldn't be too bothered if you guys just jumped ahead or waited until tomorrow's video. But if you're new to the channel or to the Jason Parham series, well, hey, how are you doing? Glad to have you with us. Hope you're having a great day. You may not be so familiar with what this is all about, so let me give you a brief explainer on what makes this series different from other Road to the Shows out there. This series, as you can see, is all about a pitcher, as distinct from the dozens of position player shows out there. And while it is fun to go out and hit dingers all day, one of the things I was looking for and not finding was a true long-running pitcher series. As a result, I wound up creating one of my own. I played through each of his games live and in full, so no simming of games through seasons, and I do my best to upload on a daily schedule. And as you may or may not be able to tell from the performances in this video, I play on legend difficulty for pitching, so I tend to get blown up a little bit from time to time. But that is the metric I've been trying to go with because they don't have too many rookies in the MLB. You have to pitch at the top level if you want to be in the show, so I'm on the top level. I've also gone one step further by tracking all of my players' game performances in an online spreadsheet as though he were a real MLB player, so that I might track his performances and see how he stacks up against the real-life pitchers of past and present. I really enjoy the more advanced analytics and do my best to push back against the more established but questionably useful stats of yesteryear, but I do record a lot of them for posterity's sake. So while I do talk about win-loss records and ERA, I'm more interested in looking at metrics like FIP, wins above replacement, hits and walks per 9, etc. So if all that sounds like something you might enjoy, perhaps you'd like to know more about this pitcher of mine. Jason Vincent Parham is a right-handed pitcher from Allentown, Pennsylvania, born in October of 1999, who enrolled in the MLB Amateur Player Draft of 2017. He's the son of a single mother, Janice, and has a twin brother, Jeremy. And at the time, he was a player nobody knew about. Scouts had no notes on him, and he just generally showed up to the Bowman Scout Day out of nowhere. As a high school senior, he threw a high 80s two-seam fastball, had a smooth curveball with 12-6 drop, and a circle changeup with 80-mile-per-hour speed and some arm-side break. Nothing to really write home about, and his repertoire lacked a truly effective put-out pitch, but he proved in the showcase that he could throw strikes consistently. A few scouts took note, and a few days after the showcase games, he was drafted in the 25th round by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He performed well through 2017 and was promoted to Pittsburgh's AA affiliate Altoona for the start of the 2018 season. He didn't really distinguish himself there, pitching in 18 starts, getting a 3-4 record for a 3.93 ERA, and performing about average. While he was going about his business about mid-season, the Pirates made a deal for Padres starter Dinelson Lamet, but San Diego asked for a little more value than they were getting from just third baseman Colin Moran. As a result, Jason found himself dealt to the Padres after only half a season in Altoona. Playing for the Padres' then AA affiliate, the San Antonio Missions, Jason posted another 3-4 record, getting his ERA down to 3.01 in the desert. And though they swooned a little down the stretch, their strong first half record allowed the Missions to go to the Texas League playoffs. Jason's club won the South Divisional Series for the Texas League before going down to defeat in the Championship Series. In 2019, Jason was brought up to AAA and the El Paso Chihuahuas of the Pacific Coast League, where Jason caught his stride a little bit and secured a 9-4 record and a 2.98 ERA through the first half of the season. Although there were a few games where Jason got blown up pretty badly, he also showed some moments of brilliance, culminating in a complete game shutout of the Salt Lake Bees on July 12, 2019. 5 days later, Jason Parham got the call-up to the San Diego Padres. His debut on the major league level was a rocky one. He pitched only 5 innings against the Los Angeles Angels, allowing 4 runs and collecting only 3 strikeouts in a game he ultimately lost. He would go on to post a 2-7 record in the majors, allowing a 6.61 ERA and accounting for a below replacement level performance on the MLB roster. Media speculation began to fly that the organization had either called him up too soon or that he didn't have the skills to pitch in the big leagues. In the offseason, the front office seemingly justified those beliefs by reassigning Jason Parham to the long reliever role in 2020, effectively consigning him to appearances in games that were already lost causes. Despite that, Jason kept working. He worked with veteran Padres pitching coach Darren Balsley to refine his repertoire, helping him to develop the cutter he'd learned in 2019 and to improve the velocity on his two-seam fastball that still remained stubbornly in the low 90s despite years of professional training. His efforts on and off the field were ultimately rewarded, but in unexpected fashion when the Padres reassigned him to the closer role for the club. In his capacity as a reliever, Jason pitched 38 innings for San Diego in 2020, allowing a 3.55 ERA, but collecting 14 saves out of the 18 opportunities afforded him. Although he was getting playing time, Jason was unhappy as a reliever and he wanted back into the rotation, going so far as to tell his agent that he would be open to being traded to get there, and although it may not have been his first choice. So, much to his surprise, Jason came off the mound after closing out a game against the Cincinnati Reds to discover that he had been traded to the Miami Marlins for shortstop Dave Britt. Although technically Jason was counted as Miami's ace, this was more due to Miami's rotation between being extremely young and raw rather than due to any talent of Jason's. Even so, Miami's confines were marginally more welcoming to Jason than San Diego had been, going 2-3 in 9 starts with a 3.21 ERA, but he barely had time to find his footing in South Florida before the rug was pulled out from under him again. Miami had flipped him after less than 2 months to the New York Mets for a handful of prospects, capping off another mid-season selling spree to squeeze whatever value could be had from the club's players once Jeter and the Marlins ownership group had made the minimum base effort to compete in the 2020 season. Jason struggled in Queens for the remainder of 2020, posting another 2-7 record and a 4.06 ERA in his 11 starts at Citi Field. The season ended with a better but still disappointing overall record of 7-13 with a 3.63 ERA for Jason, adding on 14 saves from his time as San Diego's closer, and going into the offseason as a more mature major league pitcher. He contributed well to a team unable to give him much run support. He aggregated 3 wins above replacement for clubs he played for, marking a substantial improvement for a player who had struggled just 1 year earlier. 2021 was the year everything started to come together for Jason. In 20 starts for the Mets, Jason finally secured a winning record at 9-6 and had his first ERA below 3 at 2.79, collecting almost as many strikeouts in that span as he had the entire 2020 season. Although he fought with an anemic offense on the field and personal struggles off of it, Jason was slowly becoming an elite pitcher for the Mets, one of the few bright spots on a team with plenty of pitching challenges and a punchless offense. It was in this span that Jason learned how to throw a slider, completing his pitching style by finally picking up a pitch he could consistently strike out batters with. With the Mets reaching the All-Star break well out of contention, it was no great surprise that Jason found himself dealt again, this time taking the Acela Express down to Washington, D.C. to play for the Nationals. His first day in Washington Red saw him take the mound at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, where he proceeded to pitch his first Maddox, a complete game shutout in fewer than 100 pitches. His hot streak continued for another 2 games, pitching 23 2/3 innings in Washington for a 2-0 record while only allowing 1 earned run and notching 27 strikeouts. But less than 2 weeks after being dealt to Washington, Jason was dealt again at the deadline, this time to the Boston Red Sox. Boston, a perennial championship contender, proved to be Jason's crucible, allowing him to develop as a pitcher while supporting him with a spectacular offense. They finished 2021 in the American League wild card, and with Jason ending his season with a 19-6 record, a 2.71 ERA, and 206 strikeouts, good for a 7.7 wins above replacement season, Jason shocked nearly everyone by seizing the vote for the American League Cy Young. Boston survived the wild card game against Baltimore to face New York Yankees in the divisional series, and while Jason pitched well against them, the series went to extra innings in Game 5 and the Yankees walked off to eliminate Boston from the playoffs. Jason and Boston came back again in 2022 stronger than before. Jason had matured as a pitcher, posting another strong season at 18-6 and 2.15 ERA, collecting 226 strikeouts and providing 8.5 wins above replacement, giving him his first All-Star berth and his second Cy Young. Even though Boston won the division this year, the Yankees broke through the wild card to face them, and despite Jason's Game 1 victory over them, the Yankees swept the next 3 games to eliminate Boston from the postseason once more. Although on the field everything was solidarity and dedication, behind the scenes fissures had begun to form. Jason entered his first year of arbitration with demands that the front office of the Red Sox viewed as unrealistic, and although Jason had won his arbitration claim, it was clear that Jason and the Red Sox organization were not seeing eye to eye as to his value to the ball club. The salary dispute proved an early distraction to Jason, beginning the 2023 with a 3-4 record despite a 2.69 ERA and 71 strikeouts. Red Sox fans and media began speculating whether the youngster, only in his age 23 season, had reached a plateau of his skills and whether the league had already gotten wise to his bag of tricks. Rumbles of dissatisfaction with the $6 million salary paid to Jason from arbitration came from the front office. But those concerns were put to rest on June 3rd, 2023. Jason posted 12 strikeouts at the Houston Astros in Minute Maid Park and collected 26 outs without allowing a single base hit. It came down to Astros one-hole hitter Mark Bentler and a lazy ground ball to shortstop to decide history. And Jason was denied it, Bentler legging out the infield single to deny Jason his first career no-hitter. From that game on, Jason went 10-3 in 2023, collecting another All-Star Game berth, collecting a league-leading 248 strikeouts, and nearly winning his 3rd consecutive Cy Young, ultimately losing out to fellow Red Sox Chris Sale for the honor. Boston swept the Yankees in the final series of the regular season to win the AL East for the 2nd year running and to make yet another postseason berth. The Yankees finally went out in the wildcard game to Toronto, and the Red Sox faced the Blue Jays in the ALDS. Jason posted a victory there, which led to a 3-1 Boston Series win and sent them on to face the Detroit Tigers in the American League Championship Series. The Tigers threatened Boston, forcing a Game 6 after being 3 down. The Tigers threatened Boston, forcing a Game 6 after being down 3-0 in the series, but Jason's 2 starts, combined with a comprehensive collapse of Detroit's pitching in Game 6, allowed Boston to return to the World Series to face the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs dropped the first 2 games of the Fall Classic, leading into Jason's first World Series game, where he pitched 8 scoreless innings and struck out 10 batters, but where Boston's bats failed completely against Chicago's bullpen. An Anthony Rizzo sacrifice fly in the 11th was enough to prevent a series sweep by the Sox. Even so, Boston still won the World Series in 6 games, securing Jason his first ever championship ring. But the tensions which had marked the beginning of the season still hadn't dissipated with a World Series triumph. Jason's $6 million deal was only good for 2023, and he and the Red Sox had to go back to the negotiating table for the following season. Jason's overall performance in 23 remained at a blistering level, allowing a league-best ERA of 2.14 despite a lackluster 13-7 record, good for 8.2 wins above replacement. He finished second in Cy Young voting in the American League, as I noted, behind Chris Sale, and was the MVP of the All-Star Game for that year. He continued to ask for payment in keeping with his performance, which the Red Sox management was steadfastly unwilling to give, and he refused to sign what he felt was an unfair contract offer, signaling that he was willing to take the Red Sox through arbitration again. To everyone's surprise, however, the Red Sox were not willing to offer Jason arbitration and declined to tender him a contract. Instead, arguably the best pitcher in baseball was cut by the reigning World Series champions less than a month after he helped them to a World Series triumph. So that brings us up to date. Jason Parham is now 24, and with only 4.5 years of Major League service time to his name, he has an opportunity most professional baseball players do not have until they are approaching their 30s. The chance to sign with a team of his choice. Unfortunately, and here I have to take something of a meta approach, the logic of MLB The Show in offering contracts to players like Jason is slightly skewed in that everyone wants to lock him down to a 6 to 9 year contract for scarcely more than what Boston was offering Jason for 1 more year of service. If I have to take a slightly more pragmatic approach to Jason's contract than what a real agent would be trying to secure, it's only because Jason would offer a real-life ball club a young, well-conditioned, skillful pitcher posting consistent 8-WAR seasons, still improving. You know, a multiple-time All-Star, multiple-time Cy Young winner. The potential to be an even better pitcher going forward. That would be worth hundreds of millions to a club over many years, and nobody in the show seems willing to drop that kind of money on Jason while he's still technically got 2 years of team control left. This is all without saying that Boston, a perennial postseason contender with a huge bankroll, decided to lowball and non-tender their franchise ace after winning all the marbles with him. It's almost certainly an artifact of how dumb the show's trading and contract logic is. So that brings us more or less up to speed. We are now with the Arizona Diamondbacks having signed a $9,900,000 contract over the next 2 years. That will take us through Jason's 6th year in the majors, which will take him all the way to unrestricted free agency, which will allow us to then get the big payoff that we're hoping for. But in the meantime, we got 2 years in which we are going to try to play for the Diamondbacks, or wherever we wind up, for the remainder of our contract, and hopefully bring our team to new glory. So that's what we're going to do. Well, all things said, Jason comes to the end of spring training with a disappointing 1-4 win-loss record, a 3.22 ERA, a little higher than we're accustomed to seeing, but, you know, he's still probably getting used to the team and the clubhouse. Excuse me. He pitched for 36 and a third innings and got 33 strikeouts, so pretty good rating for him, you know, over this thing, especially considering we don't have all the same cool gear that we had last year that helped bump up his numbers. But in any case, let us go to the regular season and see who made the final cut for the team. So our lineup in the regular season will be Jaime Gutierrez at second base, Jack Reinheimer at short, Bryce Harper at right field, Rhys Hoskins in left. Our designated hitter will be Michael Conforto, playing left field from the bench in the National League. Our center fielder will be Jock Peterson, third base Mark Madsen, first base Morris Lamb, and catcher is Mike Zunino. And coming from the bench, we'll have Rich Zambrano, Maurice Ruiz, and Randall Chavez, along with somebody. Somebody has to be a catcher here. Not sure who that might be, but in any case, that is your lineup for the Arizona Diamondbacks for the 2024 season. And for the pitching rotation, ace of the rotation, number 1 is Mr. Jason Parham, followed by Matt Trevino, Taijuan Walker, Ryan Bowie, and Carlton Leffler. Our bullpen will be Ernest Zarate, Rule 5 draftee, pulling up long relief duty, David Pugh, Silvino Brascio, Matt Barnes, Seth Lugo, Kevin Coffey, and Archie Bradley, rounding out the roster for the Diamondbacks. So that is going to do it for me today. Opening day and first pitch will be coming shortly. And until then, that's the Jason Parham road to the show. But the road that Jason Parham took isn't the only road to the show. Sometimes the road is longer, and if your physical gifts are greater, it just means they'll carry you that much farther from home. This year, we'll be following a second player on his road to the show, and you'll hear more about that very soon. So until next time, I'm Tyron Saber, and I will see you at the ballpark.